Nick Bolevich. I'm a planner with the Orange County Zoning Division. We also have other Orange County staff with us, Janelle Garnett and Ted Kozak, as well as Myrna Bark with Traffic Engineering and Greg Golgowski with Comprehensive Planning. And of course, this is in District Number 1. Our commissioner for this district is Commissioner Nicole Wilson, who cannot be here tonight. However, her aide, Hannah Gutner, is here, and she will be paying very close attention on behalf of the commissioner, and I will give her a minute right here.
Yeah, just a second. Hi, I'm Hannah. On behalf of the commissioner, we're so sorry, but she can't be here, but luckily there's a staff that she can trust, and I track all the development for our office. So if you have any questions whatsoever, I do the budget, development, and the agenda review. So if you get our newsletters, that's also us. Or me and my team of interns, so make sure to sign up for those, and please feel free to email district1@ocfl.net and make sure, whether it's questions about this project or anything else going on in the community, we'll answer very promptly, and very grateful to be here for the opportunity. So thank you all for coming out.
I didn't realize your job was that extensive. Wow.
Thank you.
Okay, and again, let
much to be done.
Let me thank everybody for coming. This is, for the public, your chance to be heard, and to give everyone a chance to speak. We'll be giving anyone who wants to speak up to 2 minutes to speak or to ask questions that we'll get the answers for. However, as I'm going to note later, this is not your only chance to speak on this project. Oh, it looks like it advanced automatically. The request is for a special exception in the A1 zoning district to allow a K-12 private school for 150 children, which also includes 70 dorms. Again, like I said, the purpose of this is to allow you a chance to speak, but it's also to give you information about our zoning process, how that works, and to talk to you about the proposal. At this time, I would like to introduce the applicant and the applicant's team. If you want to introduce yourselves, I believe there's a few people I haven't even met yet.
I'm Bridget Crenshaw. This is my husband Walter. This is Amber. Amber, engineer. This is Priscilla Arujo and her husband Paulo, Randy over there, and Daniela Aaron. We're the team.
Awesome. And we've also got it broken down by building. That'll be the final slide we show. And we've also got a plan. We can easily come back and discuss each building or the layout, whatever everybody wants. We certainly can accommodate you. Now regarding, this thing will advance, the BZA process, again, some people may be familiar with the process, but when the zoning division receives an application, staff reviews it, analyzes the request, and they prepare a report. That report goes to the Board of Zoning Adjustment for the BZA hearing, and that's scheduled for April 7th. Again, prior to the BZA meeting, notices are sent to everybody within a 1,000-foot radius, and a poster is placed on the property to notify owners and anyone driving by even. And the BZA, they make a recommendation. They vote to approve or deny, or they make a recommendation, but that goes to the mayor and the Board of County Commissioners. So it's not final until the mayor and the Board of County Commissioners approves whatever decision was made by the BZA on April 7th, which is when this is scheduled to be heard. Commissioner Wilson requested that a community meeting be held prior to the BZA meeting. Right here, right now, this is that community meeting. And as an owner or resident, as I mentioned, there's still other opportunities to be heard, whether it's tonight or in person right before the vote takes place. They will open it up for the public to make comments on April 7th. And again, just some background. Again, it's Crenshaw School. The zoning is A1 citrus rural zoning. Again, that zoning allows agricultural uses or one single family home and associated agricultural buildings or sheds. Those are the uses that are allowed outright with nothing more than a building permit. To do a use like this, like a school, does require a specialty hearing. It's called a special exception to get that approved. It's not allowed outright. As you know, not everybody's a farmer in this district, but many people have chosen to live here because they want the lifestyle of having a large lot and a single family home. So to put a use like this in requires a public hearing, which is what we're prepping for today. The future land use is rural settlement 1-to-1, which means minimum 1-acre lots. Property is located on Hemple Avenue. It's 12 acres. And as we have mentioned, it's in District Number 1. That is the location. It's got A1 zoning in all directions around it, which is the ag zoning I mentioned. That's just an aerial of it. And that is the site plan. Certainly, as we mentioned, we can come back and we can discuss the square footage of each building. Following this, we've got the floor plans and elevations of each building. That is the proposed classroom building. This is the proposed administration building. This is the proposed dormitories, two-story dormitory building. And this is the proposed cafeteria. And these are a couple photos. This is from Hemple Road looking onto the property, and this is on the south end of the property looking and facing north. Now, I think the applicant had indicated to me, or Mr. Gouad indicated, that you did not have anything to add, or do you want to say a few words at all?
No, you said it all. Perfect.
Okay. Again, Mr. Gouad is here. He's the architect and engineer. He will be here to answer any questions. And this brings us to the public participation part. If anybody has any questions, what we can do, we can write down the questions and then have either our traffic engineering people, our comprehensive planning people, or our staff, or the applicant answer any questions that you got. And like I said, if any questions are repeated, we can answer them all in one shot. I see one person who's definitely ready to go. Again, sorry we don't have a microphone.
Can you flip back to the site location so we can see where it is in relation to the existing school?
Well, you know what? I don't think I did the last slide. Let me go back here. We do. I'll get it out. Okay. It is right next door to the existing school. Yeah, good point there. It's right next door. The existing school, in 2011, they got a special exception approval, which is the same kind of approval they're going for here, same heading, to operate the school for 50 students within the existing church. Then in 2013, they got another special exception approval to allow them to add a 3,000 square foot modular building, which allowed them to increase the enrollment to 110 students. Again, this is on the lot directly to the south. So they're looking to relocate and expand that use on this next lot to the north. And I'll just go to this slide and I'll take your question. Again, this is the rundown of each building. I've got that on a separate sheet. We can do that and look at the site plan if you wish, but I'll go to your question now.
We need the topography map that shows the section that they're applying for right now in relation to everything that exists out there now.
That was one of the slides we saw here?
Yes.
Is that, you mean the aerial?
One very first,
This one?
yeah.
That one? Okay.
One right before that, I think it was, or just after it.
That's the zoning. That's just that's just the property line.
Existing school.
Mm-hmm. You want to know where the existing school is?
Yeah, you had it on one of those maps.
It's right here, or did you want to see the aerial?
Well, all right.
Here's it's right. There's the
Yes.
modular. They started in this building and then it expanded to that modular.
So what we're talking about is outlined in yellow tonight.
Yeah, that's the subject property for
It's
this
in
new
behind
proposal.
those two commercial buildings on the road.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm Teresa Schwetzman with the Myers with the Historic Family Gardens and the Gotha Rural Settlement Association.
Yes, I got your letter
And
this morning.
the topography of the land here runs from west to east. This all goes downhill.
Mm-hmm.
So any retention on this property could not be at the top of the hill. It would have to be at the bottom of the hill to catch all the water coming off this property, which is, from what I could see, almost 100% non-permeable surface. We're talking cements, roofs, everything on here. All the green space is gone. Mm-hmm. So you would have to put your retention along here, along with a lot of trees to suck up that much water. We're talking cypress, bald cypress, pond cypress. You'd have to have a bunch of aquatic trees to take that much water, because even your retention isn't going to hold all that water back, because it all slopes right across the street to the Historic Family Gardens and the Lake Nally Woods HOA, and it's going to run right down into Lake Nally.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you're aware of it, but we are currently dealing with 4 bridge expansions in Gotha for the turnpike that are going from 8 lanes to 12, and we already have water coming off those turnpike bridges, streaming down Lake Nally Woods Drive, down Morton Jones, dumping into Lake Nally, Lake Fisher, Lake Mills, Lake Pearl. We've got 6 lakes, and we've had a lot of problems with flooding. And I'm curious as to how you're going to handle all this flooding. and all this stormwater retention, plus the lighting, the sound, the noise. We already have Thornbrook Elementary School, and we also have Gotha Middle School.
Okay, we'll put that down as a question at the end for the engineer. Next question. Or if we're done, we'll go right to the answer. Okay.
Most K through 12 schools, don't have residents. Is there a plan, the dorms, to have permanent residents at the school?
Yeah. Okay, that's a statement? Okay, yes, that's to my understanding as well. This is one of the uses that's being included as ancillary with the school. Did you wish to express a concern about that?
No, just what vehicle traffic, will they be K through 12?
Again, I'll have the applicant answer that.
Stuff like that.
He was presented to that as generating less traffic because the students would be on-site rather than traveling to and from the school every day, but I'm gonna let the applicant address that one. Okay, okay.
I have a comment, actually, not really a question. I represent some residents that live here in Gotha and lived here for a long time, one of them over 30 years. And we're not in favor of this at all. I'm sure it's a good school, I have no doubt about that, but the issue is a rural settlement, and it was a rural settlement for a reason. And we continue to get encroached by all types of people who have good causes. We just had one that we passed by not too long ago that was an elderly facility, also good cause. But it's a rural settlement for a reason. And as we begin to just chop it up, it takes away, why do we have a rural settlement here? So I have nothing against your school, I'm sure it's great. I would just encourage you to look for a location outside of an area that's actually designated as a rural settlement, because there's a reason for that.
That has been noted.
Well, also as a new resident of the Gotha area, as a new family, we also want to make sure we have a great school to be able to send our kids to. Gotha Middle School is currently a 3 out of 10, which isn't something that we look forward to sending our kids to. So this is actually a great option for Gotha residents to send our kids to. I know it does impact a couple of things, but I'm sure that is being accounted for architecturally, and there's growth happening everywhere, and I'd like to be a part of it to increase our property value, increase our, the learning of our children, and anything that we are definitely in favor of this school.
Okay.
I believe on the field behind, my children have been in the vicinity a lot for various things in the sports field. But is there not goat potatoes? I mean, I've seen them personally. I know there's goat potatoes in that field right there.
Not on this property, but on the adjacent property?
No, on that property.
No, on that property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can talk about zoning till the cows come home.
Yeah,
I can't
that was
address
why I
it.
was raising my hand.
Okay.
Yeah, that's threatened species.
Along this road right here, right along this road on your field, there is a gopher tortoise colony. Also, in the back field here behind the New Life Worship Church, there is a whole gopher tortoise colony back in here. Gopher tortoises are a species in Florida that is protected. They're called a keystone species because they provide habitat to 300 other species in Florida. And this is the last green space they have in Gotha.
Okay.
Are you and your staff familiar with the fact that the county is currently being sued for mishandling the engineering on the verge of the stormwater runoff that's now flooding Lake Millie, and it's put one of the houses in the middle of the lake and water all over the first floor? Are you all aware of that?
I personally am not, but I'm certain other staff is. Did you?
I'm aware of it, yeah, because
I'll turn it
we
over.
represent you guys, so I'm aware of that, yes.
Well, can I say something? That is my house. Okay? That is my house. And there was a lot of negligence. And I'm sure this is a great school. I'm all for education. I'm all for, growth, and adding to that growth. But at whose expense? My house, somebody else's house. And there is nothing in here that I see that will benefit the residents that are already suffering. So by building here, it's great for growth, but again, where is the water going to go? The turnpike is right now expanding, and they're doing it in a very deceiving way. We have communications on that. So unfortunately, I am against it. And I'm also against it, not just because of my home, because I already lost it, but also because of my neighbors. So please consider it.
What's the future land use map show this property to be?
It's 1 unit per acre, 1 house per acre.
Right, so so you're gonna amend residential to commercial, basically, some sort of commercial use to private, because, that's a rural settlement is exactly 1 house per acre, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what this.
Changes will end up happening, in this area that's a rural settlement?
Well, there is nothing that's codified for that. The code just gives them the opportunity to come and ask for this. That's where we are right now. They're making the request.
Isn't this zoned A1 right now, agricultural 1?
Yes. And there's a list of uses that are allowed to ask for a special exception, and this is one of the uses that they do have the option to request this approval. Like I said, they can't go to permitting and start right away. It's not allowed outright. They have to go through this hearing process. All of you have to be notified, and in this case, given 2 chances to speak before the board takes a vote on it.
It's basically changing it from its intended use, so it may be agriculture now, but the only use that it could go into without having this hearing would be a rural RCE, correct? A rural country estate.
Well, no, with the zoning the way it is right now, if somebody bought every parcel, he could have a 1,000-acre farm, or it could be 1 house per acre, miniature farm, or just residences with big yards. Those are the options without going to a hearing.
Does the zoning map have to be, or the intended future zoning have to be changed? When we went through this with the Fire Creek project, I recall that they had to change the future zoning.
Yeah, no, in a situation like this, the zoning is consistent with the future land use, and that
So you're
zoning.
just looking for an exception, you're not asking
Yeah.
to actually change the zone.
Yeah, the zoning allows them to request this.
Well, it would effectively change the zoning, right? Because it would be a special exception, and so it could be zoned A1, but the use would be a different zone.
Yeah, they would grant
Zoning is very.
a special allowance just to this property for this one request is what it would be, what they're asking for. Yeah, not to change the zoning and allow the floodgate open of all other uses. They're saying, may we have this use as laid out on this plan? And if that got approved, any other modification, if they want to add 1 trailer or 1 maintenance building to it, they'd have to come back here and go through another hearing again, because it's not an outright allowed use. Any addition, any change requires going through this process again.
What is the zoning on the warehouses in front of them?
Yes, that's my question. What happened with the warehouses?
Pardon me here.
I mean, we already have enough problems with traffic and noise and everything else from those warehouses, which are not being used as warehouses, they're being used as gymnasiums, dance studios, everything else.
Yeah, that is the same zoning, and
do they have a special exemption for that?
they do not. And when our management found out about that, they basically got code enforcement out there, so it's effectively shut down. They're under code enforcement. They've been warned that they have to come in and ask for approvals to do it, but I believe, I don't have the chart with me, but there's certain uses, as I mentioned, that they can ask for a special exception, certain uses they cannot, and I believe karate school is specifically on the list of uses that they cannot ask for a special exception for.
So you're telling me right now that the warehouses are shut down?
I can't tell you what's being done there. I can tell you what the county ordered, which was for code enforcement to go out there and write them a warning that they cannot continue.
Sir, the traffic on Hemple is horrendous now. You know, when they get down to Yellow Dog Eats, it's backed up unbelievable, all the way up to the warehouses. Then the people at the warehouses don't come out their little street. They come up over the grass, through the telephone poles. You hear screechings. There's been several accidents. We're the very first house on Lake Dally Woods Drive. What is the plan for the county? Are they expanding that to 4 lanes? Because having that school traffic to pull into a school, and at 3:30 when they dismiss them, you've seen Thornbrook, you've all seen Gotha, it's a mess, any school.
Okay, we'll do that one at the end. Also, we have a representative of traffic engineering, the traffic engineering division here, which I will turn it over to them. If there's a number of other questions about traffic, we'll put them all together at the end.
I have a question about just the process. Is it, in general, like a foregone conclusion, that this is going to just sail through?
Not at all.
Because we have quite a few residents that are concerned about it,
Mhm.
and it just seems like with the current development that's right across the street from me, that just went through, and they are building like 45 houses in an area that should have.
Let me address that. With the approval of Ted, who's the chief planner, may I answer the zoning questions right away, and then I'll turn it over to the other staff? If I can answer this one right away, I feel we can address that. No, nothing is a foregone conclusion. Any situation like this, they have to apply. Staff will write a staff report based on the analysis. The staff report will be to either approve or deny, and that's just a recommendation to the Board of Zoning Adjustment. We have had cases where staff recommends approval or denial, and the board listens to the evidence that's presented. Have you ever been to a BZA meeting? It's almost like a court case, but consider there's 5 to 7 judges who take a vote on it. The evidence is presented, but before they vote, they'll do similar to what they're doing here. They will say, is anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of the case? They will line those folks up and they each get 2 minutes, or if there's 100 of them, they'll cut it to 1 minute. And then they'll say who wishes to speak against it. They will again line up in line and everybody take their turn to speak, and that's before the vote is taken. That is considered part of the evidence. There's one other step after that. Then the applicant gets to do a rebuttal and address any of the comments that were made. Then the vote is taken by the Board of Zoning Adjustment. It's not 100% final at that time. That is considered a recommendation that is heard by the mayor and the Board of County Commissioners, including the commissioner for that district, who kind of will take charge of it at that hearing and ask additional questions. Typically, if everything is not controversial, the 5, 6, or 12, or 20 cases that are heard on April 7th would be heard all at the same time. They will say to the board, do you agree with the decision that was made? And they can do it as what's called a consent item, where they do them all at once. If one case is more controversial, then it could be pulled for another separate hearing. Or if the BZA, Board of Zoning Adjustment, makes a decision, whether it's in favor of or to deny, and that decision is agreed upon wholeheartedly by the Board of County Commissioners, the mayor, and the district commissioner, then they will, as I said, do it as a consent item and say, yes, that decision was adequate, we support it, it's a done deal.
So what date and time is the BZA meeting and the county commission meeting?
We can actually go back to that slide, or I can read them to you, whatever you wish here.
The BZA is April
The BZA is April 7th, and the BCC, Board of County Commissioners consent agenda item, is April 26th.
And both of those are during the day when people are at work, correct?
That's correct. That's correct, but you should email, obviously, our office, and then all the other district commissioners' offices to ensure that, because, ultimately we are just one vote. I mean, we've even been overridden in our own district before. So please email the other commissioners' offices if you feel strongly about this project either way. But yeah, so it'll go to the April 7th BZA meeting. And then if the BZA says, like Nick said, no, this is inappropriate for the rural settlement area, and based on your all feedback, because we work for you, the commissioner agrees, then like Nick said, it'll go in the April 26th agenda as the BZA recommended denial, the Board of County Commissioners agrees, or vice versa. So then if the Board of County Commissioners disagrees with the BZA's recommendation, then that's why it says BCC hearing date TBD. It'll be pushed to another date where it'll be a whole other public hearing where you all, like you make the great point, Teresa, you'd have to come during the day, but if you can't come during the day, you should email all the commissioners.
I have one more question for you all.
We're only supposed to give everybody one question, but
Okay.
we'll give you 3.
Are you all aware of a program that the state of Florida runs called the Florida Communities Trust Florida Forever?
Of course.
So this property would qualify. If you're here today as an owner, it is a grant that the state of Florida, they'll pay you to put your property in a permanent green space if you are next to a historic site, a wetlands, a green space, in a rural settlement. They will pay you for that property. You would partner with Orange County and any other nonprofit entity in the Gotha rural settlement. They would pay you for the entire acquisition of your land. I just wanted to make you aware of that so that you know there is another option for your land.
Okay.
If you go back to the blueprints of the property, the entire property, because I've seen some different blueprints there, so cool in the back, and this
That was the original one. This has been revised so many times, I believe I had to ask Amir to resend it to me, the final blessed version by the applicant, so we could get it right. And this is the final version.
This blueprint has a huge drain field in the bank or drainage area. The blueprint I saw, there was zero drainage. There was a swimming pool, there was a parking lot, there was fully built. As you can see, we could show this.
Well, no, this is the new proposal. It has been scaled back. Again, I could have the applicant address that. It's been scaled back, and he can give me the percent.
But it's at
Amir
the
can give me
top
the
of the
percentage.
hill.
Are we at half or less than half of what was originally proposed?
But it's at the top of the hill. The water isn't gonna go uphill, it's gonna go downhill.
I would like to turn that over to the engineer. It's my understanding they've got to get those plans approved by the county engineering division, and they're gonna do calculations. And if it's like my neighborhood where I live, they brought in a bunch of fill dirt that I can't grow any grass on, and to make it slope towards the pond. That's my understanding, but I'm out of line talking about that. I will let the engineers address the flow. Address the flow. I'm sorry, who's next? Are we ready for answers now?
Are the owners and the engineers of this proposal aware of the problems that we're having on Lake Nally?
And the other 6 lakes?
Right, well,
If they're not-
specifically across the street.
If they're not, that's the purpose of the meeting, is for you to make them aware tonight and on the 7th.
I'm here to make you aware that we are having serious problems with runoff and water in Lake Nally, and coming down Lake Nally, Drive, it's bad. It's been bad for years, and this is gonna increase it.
We are aware of that. We've been communicating with the stormwater division, but it's a bureaucratic beatdown, as the commissioner calls it.
Can you explain that bureaucratic beatdown? Does that mean that the public's voice is not being heard?
That doesn't mean the public's voice isn't being heard. It means it takes a long time to do anything because of all the paperwork, which is valid. It's a valid reason because it's all taxpayer dollars. You know, you're all taxpayers. I'm a taxpayer. We're all taxpayers. And we have to make sure that if we're going to spend taxpayer money on things, it has to go through a very rigorous financial vetting process in terms of, a contract for who's going to fix it and the impact, and everything has to be a study first, and that's the bureaucratic
Well, this has
beatdown.
been going on for a considerable period of time already.
Okay.
Are
I
you?
have pictures dating back.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we've got to turn it over to this lady. She's been patiently trying to get a word in here.
My question is a zoning one for you. So we have this revised plan as opposed to the one that was much more extensive.
Mm-hmm.
What assurances do we have that they cannot just come back at some point and say, we're going to go back to what we originally planned?
That's one I can handle. What we will do, this is not a given, I'm just giving an example of how the case works. If it is recommended for approval, they will say approval is based on that plan right there as laid out. And that will go in the file and go in the books. When they come in for permitting, if they come in and show that building 10 feet over, the staff member will catch it and say, doesn't match the approval, building permit denied. So all they get, and as I had mentioned before, to add one more building brings us right back to this process. So if it got approved, it would be for the exact layout right here. It'll even say approval is per the site plan dated, whatever date it turned in, February 22nd, and they are held to that. So like I said, they can come in and ask to double, triple, and quadruple it, but that would bring us right back to here. They would have to come in with a new plan and state, these are the existing buildings that were approved on April 7th. Now in 2023, we want to add new buildings here. They'd be right back here, and I'm certain we would see you back at the meeting again.
But it does say, and I'll just follow up with my question, all of that, quote, future parking. All right, so why is that future parking needed for the buildings that they're showing there? So they're clearly planning on doing that.
Again, but planning to go through that process. That future parking cannot be used as parking if this plan gets approved. This is the only parking, this is the only buildings. They are, yes, alluding to the fact that they would like to come back and go through this process again for another phase. But at this point, should this get approved, which I cannot stress enough, that's not a foregone conclusion, they're asking to get only what's there approved. They can mow the words future parking into the grass, but they can't do anything more than that until they go through another hearing just like this.
I just want to bring up I'm also on the board of directors of a property that is under a special exemption. Okay, and part of that special exemption we have has conditions that we need to operate under. and I'm just making people aware that if you were to ask for a special exemption, the county can also attach specific exemption, on the exemptions of things such as, in our case, we have hours of operation, a number of different restrictions that can be attached to the special exemption. So you're not just limiting it, they don't just approve this as a building, but you could also get this approved with hours of operation, a number of different restrictions that can be applied to the special exemption.
And yeah, that being said, we do analyze it with staff and management to put conditions on. Typically, one would be a time frame for the construction because the character of the neighborhood could change. Something that gets approved today might be completely inappropriate 5 years from now. So they usually do a time frame of less than 5 years. Also, if you want to suggest any conditions, you certainly can direct that to your commissioner and commissioner's aide.
Absolutely.
And we will take those orders. If we could get a list to say, very important, analyze and put these conditions in, and I'll cut and paste them. I'll do whatever we're ordered to do here.
Are your engineers and planners aware that right across the street is one of Orange County's most significant historic sites, a Florida Heritage Landmark and a National Register Historic Site, the Nearland Gardens?
Yes, we were.
Which would be great for the students to be part of the culture.
We're quite confused because originally we got a letter of approval from them, and then this morning we got one revoking that approval and coming out against it.
May I address that? Because that was our board, because the initial proposal was for a much reduced scope. We understood that the existing Crenshaw school was going to add a couple of buildings across the street, and that seemed a reasonable use. I mean, this is, potentially, we could end up with commercial development over there if we're not careful. And we would prefer to see a small type school, something not commercial development, and it was proposed to us, it seemed a reasonable thing. Our approval or recommendation for support was conditional upon adequate stormwater retention, traffic impacts, and environmental impacts. And the problem that we have is that, again, not against the school per se, there's other issues with that, but that was not the support that we gave. There are a lot more issues with this larger development, and we're very concerned that our three conditions are not being met.
Well, I didn't mean to say that we were confused by the whole thing. We were just confused that it got rescinded, but we do understand why, and when we do present it to the board, we will mention that as someone against it, not for it.
I have a really quick question. I'm on Exhibit 4B, and it has the school buildings, and it references building A, B, and C, but on the plans, I only see building A. So I'm wondering, are buildings B and C being voted on as future classrooms, and they're not shown on the site plan? This is what I'm looking at, what was mailed out to us. Everything else seemed to match up.
It looks like you have the old plan. Yeah, there's only one school building now, which is this one right here.
Okay.
The school building that is proposed is 12,180 square feet. Just this one building here. I can go to the floor plan.
And it's A, and that's what we have,
listed
the
as building
typical
A.
school building.
Yeah,
Okay,
those other
got it.
buildings have been eliminated.
The dormitories are not there?
No, the there's one, I believe
There's
you're probably looking at a plan with 2 dormitories there. Again, this has been revised down to 1 dormitory, which is right here, a 2-story dormitory, 24,306 square feet.
So it's 2 buildings.
It's a 2-story building. It's a single building, 2 floors.
So how many students total?
Does anybody know how to permanently turn the volume down on your phone? I keep
Swipe
getting-
down from the top and you'll see a little icon that has a slash through it.
And I took it all the way down to 0 and it still rings. Okay, I'm sorry. Who was next here?
Teresa asked how many students.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How many students total is the school going to be expanding to?
I have got that here, and I know I just read it, but I want to read it off the page instead of going from memory. Yeah, 150. 150.
Total or additional?
Total for this.
What's
this.
going to happen with the existing school?
I'm going to absolutely have the applicant answer that one. What will happen with the existing school on the church site? So that, okay, that's another question, what will happen?
My only question is if there's 150 kids and you have 70 dorms, how are they all living in Gotha? They all live in Gotha and they have, I mean, if it's renovating Gotha and you're building 70 dorms, are you telling me that families can't let their kids live at home, they're all living in the dorm?
Good point.
So they're not international students, so not our students, not our
Okay, we'll take that as a statement. Who is next?
So under the special exemption.
We'll give you a second shot, second bat too, okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Under the special exemption, would the development requirements, how would that fall in? Would they have to follow what type of standards for like parking requirements, you know?
Yeah, the parking calculations are on here per code, per our Orange County requirements for parking.
Just the agricultural.
Well, no, there's a parking requirement for each use. They're being,
So the future,
yeah, they're not being held to farm parking standards, they're being held to school parking standards.
Okay, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
ask.
Nick, do you have the conditions, the 5 standard conditions, or the special
For
exception?
special exception. I can read those off to you, but I don't have them up on the screen.
I think that'd be helpful for people.
So that means it's not really a special exemption, it's actually a total change in land use, correct?
Yes.
Because if they're being held
Yes.
to commercial use,
Well, it's a special exception to allow them to do this.
to be
Yes.
commercial,
To,
correct?
not to be commercial overall, but to get this one request, to get a school, not other commercial uses, but to get what's on that plan. So I'm in no way trying to be confrontational, I'm just trying to.
I'm just asking,
clear it up.
because, I mean, basically then it's held to commercial development standards, so it's basically commercial.
Nick is gonna read to you what conditions.
Ted, I hope you're looking for them in case I don't have them in here.
We've got 5 or 6 conditions. He's gonna read what's.
So, just essentially, anything else could be built there that would have to go through the same, homes, the 1 acre home per lot could be built there in the future, like the new condominiums that are being built on Gotha. It just wouldn't bring any other value to the community. With it being a school, it would at least add value that Gotha is currently removing from our community.
Again,
I don't know that.
all I can answer that.
I'm not gonna address the removing value from the community.
But in terms of
What else could
condominiums,
be built
may I
on
jump?
that land?
May I jump in on that?
Yeah.
On the condominium use here. Again, it's zoned, it's got future land use. As it is right now, only a farm and one house could be built on it. If they were, again, if it's 7 acres, they could only divide it into 3 and get one house each. You can't do a subdivision in the ag zoning, but technically, in other circumstance, they could get 1 house per acre. They could not do condominiums. They'd have to come in and actually change that future land use and change the zoning, like they're doing out there by Disney, the Horizons West area. It would be something similar to that, which would be a whole bunch of hearings that you'd all be invited to completely do a wholesale change. So as it is right now, yeah, it could not be condominiums. It could just be houses on a 1 acre. Huh? Yeah, that wouldn't be a special exception. That would be a rezoning and a land use amendment. They'd have to change that 1 house per acre future land use to most likely medium or high density residential, to something like 10 units per acre.
So right now it's zoned for 1 house with a farm.
1 house
Under
per acre,
A1.
with a farm or not a farm, you've got the choice, but yeah, it could, like I said, somebody could buy it and turn it
For
into a massive
1 house
farm.
with agricultural use.
Yes,
No,
Okay.
well, a house.
a house with the choice of ag uses or not ag uses, your choice. You can bring your cow or not. Are we ready for answers, or is there one last question?
Sorry,
Oh, I'm sorry, I was gonna read the criteria to you, or did you wanna?
back to the student question, because it kind of,
Mhm.
you said it's gonna be for 150 students.
Yes.
But earlier you said the buildings they currently have take 110 students?
The buildings what?
The building they currently use is for 110 students?
Yes.
So we're looking at re-permitting, building all this huge oasis of schools for 40 students additional?
My understanding is and I'm gonna have them clarify this, the additional school will cease operations on that site, and all the students will now be on this site with a grand total of 150.
Yeah, but to her point, so you're building this whole site for an additional 40 students, just to be clear.
Plus
The original plus, yeah, a grand total of 150.
So realistically, the thought though is there's going to be a lot more students on here in the future, because surely you're not going to spend all this money for 40 additional,
I don't believe I can legally say what the thought is of anyone.
Can we
So-
get some answers though? I mean, on that, these
And why don't we go to the applicant?
Can they?
Yeah, that will be,
Applicants
we'll turn that
answer
over to
these
the applicant at that one. Did you want me to, are we done with the questions? Do you wanna go to the applicant, or do you want to hear the 6 criteria? I'm here to do whatever you wish.
What about the engineering questions?
That, we're all gonna line those up at the end.
What are the criteria?
The criteria for a special exception be approved is, criteria, the use shall be consistent with the comprehensive plan, which is the future land use. And again, we could say that by the zoning being consistent with the comprehensive plan. The A1 zoning being consistent with the future land use allows them to apply for the special exception. So that's kind of a hard one. The second one is the use shall be similar and compatible with the surrounding area and shall be consistent with the pattern of surrounding development. Okay. So I'm not going to answer, I'm just going to tell you what they are, because I'm probably going to stay until 9 o'clock a couple of nights in a row to rack my brain to try to write up these. So that's to be determined. The use shall not act as a detrimental intrusion into a surrounding area. That's 3. Number 4, the use shall meet the performance standards of the district in which the use is permitted. That's meaning setbacks, heights. Okay, that's 4 of them. Number 5, the use shall be similar in noise, vibration, dust, odor, glare, heat producing, and other characteristics that are associated with the majority of uses currently permitted in the zoning district.
How are any of these going to be accomplished? I mean,
well, that's what we have to analyze, and the application of the code says they've got to meet all 6 to get a recommendation for approval.
okay.
And the final one, landscaping buffers shall be in accordance with our landscaping code and shall follow the district in which it is permitted.
Okay, we get one of them.
Can you show me the landscaping buffers here? I see none. Where are they?
That is the space from the property line up until a use starts.
It looks like a parking lot.
It's a parking.
Well, there is.
It's non-permeable surface.
We don't have the actual dimension on there, and I didn't put the landscaping plan into this. They did turn in a landscaping plan. And that, again, that will be shown at the BZA hearing, and you certainly can comment in detail about that.
I don't see any green space on that entire plan, with the exception of your retention pond, which is uphill. And even that is just for water retention. I see no trees around it, no nothing.
Okay, again, I will have the applicant address that. Are we ready for answers?
You still have drainage with it going uphill. I'm sure he'll clear it up, but if that's.
Have you walked the topography of that site?
I'm talking about for an architect, I'm sure he can clarify that there's gonna be drainage uphill.
Last time I checked, water doesn't run uphill.
Okay,
With engineering.
Okay, let's do 2 more questions and then go to the answers here.
I wasn't able to see where boarding or lodging facilities was even a special exception under agricultural use, neither A1 or A2.
When it's ancillary to the school, if they just came in and said we're putting a boarding house, it would be no way, no how, because it's associated with the school, just like a sports field would be associated with the school. In this case, a restaurant's not allowed, but a cafeteria associated with the school. That's the blanket it falls under. To request it, again, no guarantee, that allows them to make the request, period. I think we had 1 more. That's not me, okay.
I was just going to speak to the student aspect. Our oldest son graduated from Crenshaw. We currently have a 9th grader there. Over the past, probably 4 years, we've hosted a couple of foreign students who went to Crenshaw at separate times. We hosted them in our home. Neither one of them drove, so in terms of the traffic aspect and more people around, an expansion of 110 students to 150 with a 70 unit dormitory included in the project, to me could potentially have a less of a traffic impact, a positive traffic impact, meaning there's less of it, because most of them don't drive anyways. A lot of students who are in sports, obviously there are no sports programs there. They leave for sports at other schools or golf courses or wherever that is, and they typically leave early. So when you're thinking about that conventional 3:30 dismissal time for a school, that's also less of an impact too in terms of adding 40 students.
But the 70 that are gonna be living there, obviously not gonna be for the benefit of Gotha residents. They're not gonna be Gotha residents other than living in the dorm, so I don't see where that benefits. She said it was a school for Gotha residents, but I don't see that.
Are we ready to have the applicant address the existing school and the drainage?
I think so.
Did you want to handle that one? You've got an engineering degree that I don't have, so. And I can go back to any slide you wish here, or is this the best one to start with?
This is fine. Good evening to everyone. My name is Amar Gawad. I'm the owner of True Engineering. 35 years of experience in drainage and civil engineering projects in Florida. Let's start with the drainage. I heard about we're going to be flooded, we're going to be drowning, and all that kind of stuff. Right now, the soils on this property, I'm going to only talk about this property because we're here to talk about this property, not other houses or subdivisions. And I'm sorry for your loss if you have any flooding happen. That's not due to any runoff from anywhere here. However, the retention pond, the topography of this, you have 140 feet elevation running across this property, and it goes into the church building here. The water elevation, last time we did they did a boring test, is 10 feet deep. 10 feet deep from 130 elevation. We have 140 elevation here. So, add to that, in soils analysis, there's something called permeability, meaning that when the stormwater comes in, it goes into the soil, and there's a permeability rate that absorbs the water into the soil down to the aquifer. It prevents runoff. The runoff happens when you have clay surface, you have clay soils that is so condensed and is not allowing the water to go down, so the water runs off. When you have this kind of soil, which is, by the soil report, says it's an open porosity soil, therefore the permeability is, according to the table here, is 40 feet per day, meaning that you have 40 feet of water going down to the soil, to the aquifer every day. Therefore, there is no horizontal, there is no runoff. However, if you're concerned about the topography, the existing topography, in the water management district, we have to submit the plans, not only to be reviewed by Orange County Engineering, but also by the St. John's Water Management District. Two different boards, two different entities. The main goal for those entities to review the plans is to not to flood any of the neighborhoods by providing a retention pond. The purpose of the retention pond is to take the first ½ inch or 1 inch of the runoff, store it, and then release the clean water to the nearest wetland, to the nearest open shed, and so forth. However, the proposal for this property is to retain all the 100-year flood, 100-year flood storm on site. We're not discharging anything. Zero. Many solutions can we provide. I don't care where the retention pond is. The site can be balanced, so we take from the high, we put in the low, we balance the site. So pre-development, in the water management district, they tell us that the pre-development flow, runoff, must equal the post-development runoff. That's the code. And we will design this according to that, meaning that whatever is being run off now, pre-development, before we touch the property. After we develop the property, the post-development runoff cannot exceed that, meaning that we have to absorb every drop of water on site so it does not affect the neighbor developments. A retention pond being here is no different than being here or here. Why? Because we are retaining it at the 100-year storm. that every drop of water coming on this site will stay on this site. It's not gonna leave the site.
How?
As I said, you have 40 feet per day of percolation rate.
But you're covering it with cement.
Yes.
No.
Yes, sir.
Where?
You're covering it with cement, so it is no longer permeable. It's
Where is the
running
cement?
straight off the cement and the roofing.
Where's
The
the cement?
parking lot.
Ma'am.
The roofs, that is
The
non-permeable
parking lot,
surface.
the parking lot surface drains into the retention pond. And the
Not
retention
uphill.
pond, it's not gonna be uphill.
Sir, we can stand from our property to yours and we can see it
That
rise.
is now.
It's uphill.
That is now. That will be leveled off. It will be balanced. We will not leave the property as is right now.
You were gonna bring in to balance it, because you can't just cut into the side of it without creating a cliff. You know, so how much fill would you have to bring in to make all the water go to that back area?
I don't know how much fill, but the high will be going to low. This is how we're gonna balance the site. And that's normal for any development. I'm not creating a new science. This is what we do for years in Florida. That's what every development does. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. So in addition to the retention pond is grass. There's no asphalt, there's nothing in it. What happens is, when we develop a property, you have parking lot, you have building roofs. The water comes into the parking lot, and it comes onto the roof, and it runs into a system of pipes. That system of pipes take it to the retention pond. And it stays there. It goes nowhere. It percolates down, it does not run off.
You don't think you'll create hydraulic mounding there?
No.
Where what you calculated at one time is not gonna work? Because I mean, it's a closed basin, so it has to be 100% all stormwater has to flow into that pond.
100% of the rain, 100% the storm event will come into that site, and by code, if you're not discharging off the property, you have to retain a 100-year storm, which is what we're doing.
Well, you'd have to no matter what, it's a closed basin, you have no positive outfall anywhere.
Yes, we do.
Where?
Of course we do.
Where?
You would have to have a positive outlook, but this is not a discussion for that.
Yes, it is. This is the
We're not
discussion
doing
right
that.
now.
We're not doing that. We're retaining everything. Calm down. We're retaining everything. We're not going for any outside the property whatsoever. Not even a drop of water.
Do you understand that my house flooded because of other projects that miscalculated? Do you understand that?
Ma'am,
It's not
the
this
county-
one,
I
but your
understand.
calculations are not 100%.
I understand.
You can say 100% of water is gonna go in that retention pond, because I can tell you right now, what testing that has been done based on the flooding that caused to my house was because of miscalculations.
Where is the flooding from your house coming from?
It's coming from the area.
Where? What area?
Down
What area?
Hemple, down the canal road,
Okay.
off of the turnpike.
We're actually going to help that because we're not going to touch that at all. Every drop of water comes
You have
in.
to build the site up so high to get the water in the very back over there.
We're not building up the site, sir. We're actually shaving the site.
You're gonna cut it down.
We're
So
going to
on that
export fill.
property-
We're not going to import fill. We have plenty of fill. So we're going to export fill. We're not going to even import fill.
Topography, there's no way to balance a site like that without bringing in fill. I mean, it's you could go out there and look, and it's a huge slope up. So are you literally going to carve out the side to balance the site? I don't understand. Are you
Every site, we do this every site. Every site has to be balanced.
If you bring in fill, then there's going to be a slope going down to Hemple Road, right?
Nope.
So all the right at your right of way, right at your apron going in. None of that water is going to go down.
Everything on Hemple, everything on the property. I don't own the properties in Hemple.
No, but you're saying that
This
the
is
drive
it.
going in,
Yes,
you're gonna
so
put
this,
any water out.
this will be raised up. All the slope is gonna go down, and the slope here is gonna go down. Everything will be contained on property. Nothing goes outside the property.
That's what they said about all the subdivisions around us, and that has not happened.
You take that up with the county engineering. The county engineering and the San Zoras Water Management District's job is to review this.
I'm in danger of getting a bad evaluation from my boss for letting this meeting get out of control, but in front of the commissioner and the commissioner's aide, I know they want everybody to be heard. Can we do a really quick question if it's for the engineer here, from each of you? These two folks, very quickly.
And it's very specific, because I understand, and I think the term, what you're talking about, is taking what is called, is that an exfiltration system?
No, ma'am. There is something called exfiltration system, which this site will be perfect for that, which is going to be underground. It's a bunch of perforated pipes that takes all the water and it drains it to the aquifer.
Well, or to another area, so you're not doing that. Because the problem with that, I know, is it's either St. John's River Water Management or Southwest Florida, I'm not sure which.
It's actually
does-
both.
San John's.
It's both here.
It does not allow them anymore, but I know they're speaking from the town of Windermere, their new officers. And because they had an existing system, they finally were able to approve it. But some of these systems of trying to take it underground, because people don't maintain them properly, they have found that they're denying them in a lot of situations where there is no way to properly maintain that flow of water underground.
That was a long time ago. The
No,
water
this is
management,
now, this is current, this is
the
current.
San John's Water Management District design code allows for exfiltration. We're not doing exfiltration, but we can because we have proper soils to accept an exfiltration.
Okay, so
I
that's
have
not-
10 feet of soil, no water, no groundwater.
So you are.
Here it is.
Can we get the quick question that I promised this gentleman back here?
Is it gonna be inspected by the county when you're done?
Of course, expected. We applied for the special exception a year ago. The county is doing an excellent job, taking every single thing we submit. My client, the applicant, can attest to that. How long we've been in this special exception process, Brenda? Over a year. They wanted a traffic study. Marina requested a traffic study. We did a traffic study. She reviewed it. We had 3 meetings on that traffic study. They have demanded everything to make sure the public is protected. That's their job as a county. Yes. Did you hear that?
Make it only 150 because we told them it's in the rural settlement, and if you are going to use the one of the criteria in the rural settlement that it is compatible with the area, there is no way the citizen would accept a large school, 150 students, because today it's existing 110. So we said 150 could be doable, that it's not a huge increase. So the traffic won't be even much more bigger than what it is now. And you had a question about Hemple being a 4-lane. Hemple will never be a 4-lane. It is in the rural settlement. We have no.
Speak up, please.
We have no future program to make Hemple into a 4-lane. It's gonna remain 2-lane road. But the way it is with the projection for the traffic study that they submitted to us, it's gonna still function the way it functions today. Because remember, not the growth in the rural settlement. There's not much growth happening in the rural settlement except for Fire
That's why we're
Creek.
here.
Fire Creek, yes, that's good, and I live here, by the way. I live 2 minutes away from the school. I used to take my kids to that dancing school, so I know it's really becoming. Traffic is becoming horrendous, but not from the rural settlement. We live close to Ocoee. Ocoee have no restrictions as Orange County does. People can build without traffic study, without all those night meetings. Same as Winter Garden. Winter Garden, the same thing. So it's not just the traffic that's coming from the rural settlement that's affecting this. So the applicant had a bigger program. We made sure they reduced it. And as Omar said, we've been working with them for almost a year and 8 months to come up with a solution that fits this area. I see you guys have a lot of concerns, and this is why we're here, and we want to make sure that all the questions have been answered. And if not today, we will answer them later on. We go back and get you the right person. It seems like you had a lot of stormwater. I wish we brought somebody from stormwater. I'm not from stormwater, roads and drainage in the county to help you with your home. I'm so sorry that this is happening to you, but nothing from traffic. From traffic, what they are proposing is not gonna affect the roadways more than it is already.
Is there not a turning lane to go into the school?
Yes, this is something we will
We have to
require.
make it bigger for another.
I understand. We require them to do also inside the school circulation for the traffic, so it will not dump all the traffic on Hemple at one time. So people will be in the school queuing until there's a chance for them to get out. But also, we will require the applicant to submit an operational analysis once they're approved, because now they're not approved. Once we know exactly what the zoning board's gonna allow them to do, before they proceed, we will make them do another traffic study to make sure operation in the AM from 7 to 9 is not making the roads worse, and in the PM too. And they have to address the queuing, the access to the school in and out, to make sure it doesn't make it worse. I don't think we can make them make things better, but it's not gonna get worse than it is today.
Would you please show us the results of your traffic study currently?
Currently, I have it here, it was a traffic, let me tell you, they submitted traffic study, staff in the county reviewed it, and we send it to the consultant of the county. We have a consultant, the county pays the money to review special studies, because we knew that you guys are gonna be very concerned with this analysis, so we made sure another set of eyes looked at it.
So during rush hour, how many cars do we have in the rush hour in the morning and how many in the evening?
Yes, ma'am. Today, based on what they have 110 students, right? So 110 students will generate, hold on 1 second, I was just looking. Today, 110 students in the AM will generate 68 trips.
And how many do we have now,
That's
overall, total?
That's
Adding, how much traffic is passing through Gotha during rush hour right now?
For Hemple, you mean Hemple Road?
Yes. How many cars are passing through during rush hour right now?
Right?
Total.
Total, the road handles 760 trips. That means 2 lanes road should have a maximum of 760 cars on.
No, I'm asking when you put the counter out there.
I understand.
Because
But that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
The 760 trips has to go through that 2-lane road. Today the count is 680, which you have a delta, and that's a plus. By adding 68 trips, you subtract it from the plus that's already in there, they're not creating deficiency. But still, we are gonna make them do another study when they are ready to pull a building permit, because you know, the roads changes, you know, every few months, and we have counts every year. And if they do impact a road that's failing within the area, we will make them pay mitigation fee, that fee will help us make some type of improvements to enhance the traffic movements in that area.
I have a question. Am I allowed to ask a question? You said they have to turn in a study at the time of permitting. Is that what you have referenced as the operational analysis, or is that another different study?
Operational analysis only required for schools, and since they are a school, we will require them. Concurrency analysis is required for everybody. Do you see that roundabout on Fire Creek?
Yeah.
We made the developer do that roundabout.
Actually, we made the developer
that
do
was
that.
one of the,
Yeah.
because of negotiation. So
Yes.
that was a condition that we told them to enhance it, was one of the worst intersection in the county. And through the concurrency process, because we make people do a traffic study, they analyzed and did this, and that was a requirement. And they paid money for it, and they did it.
And he also had to keep a certain amount of tree canopy
Yes,
on
ma'am.
Army Road
Yes,
and
ma'am.
around the parks,
And he
so it
built-
could handle water
And he
retention.
got advantage of the what did he get advantage of to get more homes than 1 per acre? Just what is it? Cluster. The cluster. So they built 1 home per 0.75 acres instead of 1 acre. But I mean, it was good, and it's because you guys care, and I care. I was in that night meeting when it happened. So I mean, don't tell me about Fire Creek. It's done.
No, no, I live on Hemple, and I just heard you say 680 cars go down Hemple Avenue per day. You are way off. It is in the thousands.
Well, that's what the hose, do you see the hose when we place it?
I do.
Well, that's how we count it, because it doesn't say.
It's in the thousands, so we're way off.
The question is, doesn't all schools have the same traffic study? Because mostly only schools create traffic, is what I'm saying. So if these traffic studies are so accurate, you know, our kids go to Thornbrook, they have a drive lane that goes through just like this proposed there, but it still causes traffic. So, you know, I don't really trust that, you know, everybody has to get them to create that much traffic on a road. Doesn't really seem to work.
Thornbrook is a public school, and public schools are exempt from meeting concurrency. That means when they,
Other private schools around here.
all private schools have to do a traffic study
Yeah.
and an operation.
And they still cause traffic now.
Yeah,
Basically.
yes, I agree, yes. Yes, sir.
Are you going to require them to put some kind of a turn lane on Hemple to go into the school?
Well, that's part of the operational analysis that we discussed.
Where are you going to put it?
I don't know now because his plan is not even final yet, right? So.
I don't care about whether it's final or not. Right now, there's no place to put a turn lane without a total disruption of the entire Hemple complex there.
Okay.
And we're going through that right now with the Duke Energy and all those people out there putting new poles in exactly where you're going to want to widen the road. And there's no road to the east of Hemple to put anything. Absolutely nothing.
Well, that's something, maybe it's a condition of approval that we can put, that's, you know, when this gets approved, I don't know if it's gonna get approved, we don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe we can
if
say-
it gets approved.
If it gets approved, we don't know. If
Well,
it's
how
gonna
can it get approved if y'all don't even know what you're gonna do with the traffic pattern to allow it to function?
Well, I mean, at this time, it's zoned as agriculture, 1 home per 1 acre. So we can't propose and build a turn lane for something that exists as 1 home per 1 acre.
Of course not. But if it gets approved, and that's your word, not mine, gets approved, how are you going to handle the traffic out there? At the entrance of it?
Yes.
I haven't heard anything from you or anyone else in here about how they're going to address the traffic if it gets approved.
If on April, what is it, April 26th?
April 7th is the BZA.
If the BZA, after they hear all of this, I don't know if they're gonna approve it or not. If this happens, just like how you guys had concern with Fire Creek and a roundabout came out of that entire meetings and the concerns, a turn lane will come out of this if this moves forward. We will put a condition that they have to submit a concurrency analysis and an operational analysis, and we want to make sure that all the movements into and out of the school is okay. That's something we can do later on through the development process. But at this time, we can't put a condition because they don't have the zoning. They don't.
Okay, are we ready to move on with the discussion on what will happen to the private school?
Make a
I'll turn it
lousy
over to you to whatever you want to say.
That's fine. Regarding
Floor
the
is yours.
drainage, I want to make sure I heard a lot of things about drainage. I'm being flooded. I'm being this and that and that. Okay, any questions after what I said about the drainage? And we're not discharging 1 drop of water off the site.
I might suggest you have a site plan that shows your grade, so people can see
Okay.
it versus you
And
telling
topography.
everybody, trust me.
That is always required at the engineering stage. This is not an engineering stage. This is nothing but a conceptual plan.
You'd help the people
Every-
believe you a little better if you had it.
Of course, I can draw one now if you would like. This is easy for me. But it's not required at the special exception stage. It's required at the engineering stage because it requires a lot of studies, soil reports, drainage analysis, all the kind of stuff. Yes.
The soil, sir, I would think that the buildings where the warehouses are will be the same soil as the soil that you're talking about.
The soil at the warehouses
Yeah,
is the
I
same
would
soil
think-
as this,
Yeah.
as the same soil as the church.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
A lot of drainage problems there. We have a lot of water. When it rains, that car park has many problems.
that is not a proper designed car park. Okay, when it's properly designed, it's sloped, supposed to be sloped to go to inlets, and those inlets will take the water directed to the retention pond. Now, today we had some rain. Last week we had some rain, correct?
Yeah.
I live also in Windermere, so I know. Okay, the property to the south is the church. You all know it, right?
Yes.
They do have a retention pond, right? Do you know what that is? Where's that retention pond?
It's right next to the turnpike berm.
Okay, perfect. Pastor Basil is here with us. Today, is there any drop of water in that retention pond? Thank you, sir. Rest of my case.
That's also downhill, and there are underground pipes.
Perfect.
Pushing that water into our aquifer from the turnpike.
Okay.
That stormwater runoff does not go into that retention pond. You go out there right now and you'll see where we had the storm 2 nights ago, the heavy one you referred to, and the water rushed down there with such a torrent that it took all the leaves that are falling off these oak trees and stacked them up like a deck of cards along Hemple and along the sidewalk there as it rushed south and did not go into that retention pond.
Call Orange County Public Works, call St. John's Water Management District. Has nothing to do with those properties.
All of these things are supposed to have been done by these respected, talented, educated engineers, and all we're stuck
I wish I'm
with
one
is
of
the
them,
end
but I'm
result.
not. I don't engineer things for the county. This is private property. That's all.
Sometimes just use that as a positive aspect here. That it would, the water roamed into their retention pond. It didn't. The water didn't go in their retention pond.
Which retention pond are you referring
To
to?
the church.
Okay,
You just said there's
the
zero
water from
water.
the church goes to the retention pond of the church. Everything is property specific. Okay, retention ponds don't serve the world. There's a retention pond for the church. There will be a retention pond for this property. Every property stands on its own, and that's how the codes are written. St. John's Water Management District, ma'am, for your house, I urge you to call St. John's.
I have, you don't
Perfect.
understand.
I do understand.
They messed up. You guys messed up when you
No,
designed
no, don't
it,
say you
and
guys.
then-
I'm not with
I'm
St.
sorry,
John's.
I'm sorry, but they
Okay.
messed up when they designed it. Just like you're guaranteeing 100% of the water will stay there. They were promising the same thing when they built their project, and it didn't work.
Okay.
So when you talk about St. John's River Management, because they're regulated, right?
St. John's is a government,
So if
yes.
in a perfect world, if people follow regulations, then yes, we can speak 100%.
You
But
have
when
the
they're
right to
not,
complain. You
and that's why
submit
we
a
file
complaint.
lawsuits.
Yes,
That's why
perfect.
we
It's
file
after the
lawsuits.
Perfect, perfect. I support you on that, actually. I do support you.
Okay,
As an
technically-
engineer, I don't like to hear these things. This is really bad.
And by the
stuff.
way, there's two water management districts that run through Windermere and Gotha.
I'm aware of that.
St.
This is-
John's to the north,
and south,
Southwest
and
Water,
southwest.
and
But-
just so you understand, Windermere and Gotha are in the Butler Chain of Lakes and the Gotha Basin,
Right.
which are the headwaters to Shingle Creek in the Everglades.
Correct.
So you're in a very sensitive area, water recharge area. So all that water, when it goes down the pipes, goes down underground into the hydrology system and goes to the lowest place.
We do studies to abide by the code. The code, we go by the code. If you have a problem with the code, okay, call the county, call the St. John's Water Management District, but don't penalize a private property for that. What have we done for this? We follow the code. We slope it per code. We retain every drop of the water got created on 100-year storm on property. Not a one drop will leave that property. Not one.
The water has to percolate down.
It's to the
And when it
aquifer, goes
down-
vertical.
Down, and it's going to go to all the lowest places in Gotha,
It goes
hydrology wise.
500 feet down, man. That's the aquifer. It does not go horizontal, it goes vertical.
I would invite you to come out on a rainy day and
Yeah.
follow the water with
I
us.
live here too.
Follow the water with
I
us.
live here too. I
Okay.
follow it. I live here. But please understand me. We go by codes. You have a problem with the codes, go to the source of those codes. Okay? They tell us if you calculate a 100-year storm and you retain that on property, you have abided by the code. And they do maintenance, so they visit sites, and if they don't visit sites, you as a citizen, I have done this with my own house. I live in Harbor Island, okay? I have a 1-acre property. Okay, my subdivision was designed with a series of ponds in front of the properties. One of my neighbors filled it up. It flooded mine.
But we have 3 acres, and the 3 acres flooding right now. And according to what.
Where are your 3 acres?
By then, like that.
Across the street from your property.
I understand that.
So it's on the water right now.
How is the rain coming from my property affect your property?
So they say that they went to 100.
Taking away the source to soak it down the water, and it's gonna come downhill. We already have a problem as is. That means this is just gonna add more to it.
The water will not come downhill from my property. I said it will be retained.
It's what you say, but it's not that.
It's not what's gonna happen.
If I can interject, we technically have the room until 7 o'clock, so we've gone into double overtime here. Do we want to quickly?
The
hear
gopher.
Oh, that and
Okay,
what's happening with the
they said
existing
that the
school?
gopher, there's a gopher in here.
Yes.
Enclave. This particular area will not be touched.
Okay, and you also have a Gopher Enclave behind the church. I understand you guys are gonna be putting a possible soccer field behind there?
This is not the subject of this.
Okay,
I'm only here
just bringing
for
that
this.
up, cause that's coming down the pipeline.
You can bring that up later. But the gopher that you mentioned here, okay, will not be touched. Thank you.
Wait,
And
excuse
question
me,
about
could someone tell me, and could you tell me, do you know about the lawsuit? With Orange County, with St. John's, about the flooding of our street, and not just one house. The house next door was flooded, he lost 2 acres. The house to the right of their house, the water percolated up inside her house, through her well, and the house is destroyed. That hasn't started a lawsuit about that. Do you know about the lawsuit?
I don't until today, but this is not strange.
Do you
It
know
happens.
about the
It does-
lawsuit?
it
Yes.
does
How
happen.
can you come and not know about the lawsuit? Do you know about the lawsuit?
Is the lawsuit generated from that property?
The problem here is
No.
that you're.
I'm representing this property, man.
And that's at the top of the
problem
hill.
here
And your
is
lawsuit
that
is already
that
existing.
property is directly across the street.
We haven't even started
from
yet.
the area that we're having problems.
That's why we're trying to stop it. No one here from Gotha wants it.
I object. I want it. I'm from Gotha, so.
Can I also say something just real quickly? I think it's also valuable and important for us to just maintain a certain sense of objectivity. And what I simply mean by that is that I can appreciate where other projects have failed, or at least it has been perceived to have been failed. And I don't know, I can't comment on it. But it's important to know that just because 1 or 2 projects fail doesn't always mean that all future projects are going to fail.
Okay.
So I'm just simply saying, just to keep the objectivity.
But remember, they're at the top of the
Top of
hill.
our
No, I understand.
They're at the top of the hill.
Just,
Okay?
You would have
You know, I would
said,
just say
maybe
that
you would have
this is
said
not
different
going
if your house would be on the hill.
Yeah, if you
Your
live
house would
there,
be on the
you
hill,
live over in
you
Gotha.
would say that different.
Right down at the bottom of the
I
canal.
want to say objectivity in that just because one project fails doesn't mean all
It-
projects.
But it's been failing for years.
On the Gopher tortoises, their burrows run 40 feet in length and 10 feet in depth. So if you're going to be bulldozing and grading that entire site, you've already disturbed the burrows.
Okay, my answer is twofold. Number one, if in fact we do that, the county has a process of relocating the gophers. However, we cannot even touch that strip because it's a Duke Energy easement. We cannot touch it. It's an existing easement, recorded easement.
Okay, I too am curious to know what's gonna happen with the existing school, and that was one of the first questions.
Okay,
What's happening with the existing school on the other side? Are all the students being relocated to here and the school?
Yeah, they're being relocated to the new school.
And that school, that will not be used as an educational use on the next door?
Correct.
So, okay,
What's it
so there's
gonna
no
be used
overlap.
for?
That's being completely relocated.
Commercial?
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry?
Will it be commercial, a store?
It's a church. It's allowed to be a church right now.
Portables will go back. That's it.
Church. It's a church.
It's a church. Nick, any questions for me? Technical questions.
I think, have I missed anything? Most of what we heard were statements which are going to be well noted. The questions were about drainage and about the existing school. Have we addressed the questions adequately to let school staff come in and do their job
The
now?
last question I have is, once you get special exception, does that mean that they already have it for all the additional proposed stuff?
No, as I had said before, if it gets approved, big capitals if, it's gonna be tied to that plan right there. One more, as I said, one more shed for lawnmowers would require us to come and have another hearing here.
May I ask just a zoning question, one for you? The trick with this property that we all have to remember is how difficult what other usages beyond the 1 house per acre, what other exceptions possibly could be allowed there? I mean, could something worse come down the back? I guess that's my only fear. Could somebody come in and propose something more commercial?
There's an extensive list, we'd be here all night, but yeah,
Right,
there's a
so-
number of, I can show you, if you can email me tomorrow, I can mail you the chart.
But they would have to go through the same process and get a special exception.
Yeah, the S means special, I'll just tell you, the chart I'll send you has an S, meaning they could lobby for a special exception like they're doing here. If it's blank, that means no way, no how. So a rock crushing cement factory, absolutely no way, no how.
So you can go see what the other potential.
Yeah, there are other potential ones which are meant to be subtle, compatible uses, like they feel that a school can serve a rural area. But something more intense
But
and more
right now,
commercial
it's
would
A1.
be. Yeah, but something more
Agricultural
commercial,
one.
yeah. So what's allowed outright, as I mentioned, a house, a barn, a farm, as big of a farm as you want, complying with the number of cattle per acre. And that's it.
Okay.